speaking of the greater good, one of your focuses is to attract ancillary businesses that are supporting communities. You want to talk a little bit about that?
To attract communities that are supporting ancillary businesses. And by that,
yeah, ancillary businesses that promote their community, that help people in their community thrive.
So let's see, an example of that would be, did you have something in particular that you're thinking about?
Humboldt Grace.
Humboldt Grace, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Humboldt Grace was like our soft launch, actually. Humboldt Grace was our soft launch, and I believe it's considered, well, it's definitely run by Leilani Dubois. She is someone who I will also be doing an interview with in the near future. She has a company called Canopy Right, which is involved with preserving the genetic information about the plants that different cultivators grow. But we did a support endeavor, I believe in March, to help raise money for the fire victims in the cultivating area of Humboldt Grace last year. And so a lot with the fires, as you know, a lot of the people who grow California cannabis were burned out, and the industry really was, you know, people individually were hurt very badly. So of course, we support communities who advocate on behalf of the many people who work in the industry, and Humboldt Grace is one of those. Humboldt Grace is one of those. So that's an example of questions asked in terms of groups. We also advocate for groups like the Cannabis Nurses of Color. There you have nurses who I believe now in some states can actually prescribe, not prescribe, wrong term, who can now recommend marijuana cards, and also work with patients who specifically are looking to use cannabis as medicine. So I know I'm flipping between cannabis and the marijuana language, but that's the way that is the way it is. You know, in law, you have to, it's called marijuana for when it comes to the medical conversation about it, but it is cannabis. Yeah.
It's that's that intersection, and the language that we put around that intersection sometimes is muddy. It's as muddy as the regulations. It's as muddy as the inconsistency from state to state, municipality to municipality. It just, there is that muddiness. And part of what, when I think about Cannabis Business Alliance, I think about getting rid of that muddiness. You know,
well,
how do we get through it? You know, you can't get out of it. You can't avoid it. How do you work within it?
I think that the main thing is that you have to be willing to work with change. You know, I mean, no one will disagree that the one thing constant about life is change. But here we're operating in an industry that is being created. You know, it's being created, but everyone's inside working in different areas and trying to figure out how you work together in that area as law, as policy, as regulation are being created. So I think the primary quality that we need at this point is you really have to be flexible. You have to be flexible, you have to be willing to pivot, and you have to be open to the fact that things are changing so that you can understand, oh, we'll have to do this as opposed to that. We need to talk about this in a different way than the way we may have initially been introduced to it. So no stuck in the mud kind of thing. And for me, as an aging entrepreneur, it's like, it's just really nice, you know. It's nice. I'm a lifelong learner, and even though I'm accustomed to learning things easily, that hasn't been the experience. You know, I've bumped my head many times, but I just get up and I start over.